Oh, have you calmed down from the last video?
Woo! Just wondering what sweater to wear to the parade, baby!
Oh, so it's just a different kind of energy then.
Oh, wait, what am I saying? The parade's in June. The parade's in June, sorry.
Hi, kids!
Victorious puppies! Oh.
This team is ruining my life!
Why do I watch hockey? Stress relief!
We can, and we will.
Victory, puppies, boys! I know it's been way too long. You started to expect this after every game. So did I. Is an empty net or a hat trick? We're about to find out. Yeah! I don't know if they can play like this when it's playoff time, but right now it's January. I don't care. Win every game 7-4!
Leafs win 7-4 over the New Jersey Devils. You know, obviously I was very heated after the last game because it was an unacceptable performance. Got a lot of chirps like, oh, Steve, a couple games ago you were saying we can't freak out after every loss. Well, that wasn't every loss, was it? That was their third straight loss where they allowed 8 goals on rest against a divisional rival that was nipping at their heels in the standings. That is yucky caca. No, this better. Imperfect, but better. We'll talk about it. And as I was just about to dive into the game, it has occurred to me exactly how much has happened since the last video. I am talking, of course, about Mason Marchment getting sent down. No, Morgan Riley, who recently admitted to basically playing the entire season injured, but he's starting to feel better now, blocked a shot in the Panthers game. It's always great when you get a serious injury in a game where you allow 8 goals. And now he's going to be out 8 weeks. Isn't that appropriate? Last video I said don't call up Rasmus Sandin because the Leafs don't deserve it. Yeah, no, call up Rasmus Sandin, set his ELC on fire. Now we all know how Sandin's first call-up went. Liljegren has been called up too. I think it's really important to get him into his first NHL action because there is a real solid chance the Leafs might actually need him to play. I know Brandon Pridham's working his cap shenanigans, whatever, but it doesn't make any sense to have Timothy Liljegren not play games. And we gotta take the training wheels off this group, we gotta stop making excuses for him, we gotta stop calling them. If they're gonna win a Stanley Cup, if they're gonna have playoff success, they're gonna have to find wins where there shouldn't be any. Since Sidney Crosby's injury, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been the hottest team in the NHL, and then he came back and got 4 points. Those are the kinds of monsters waiting out there in the real world. Forget the Lightning, forget the Bruins. That team is a monstrosity. Because the Penguins, in terms of churning out talent, are the best in the league. They have to be the best. And the Leafs have done an unreal job up front in recent years. It's time to test their defensive depth, which was already perceived as weak. Well, what if they went out and got a top 4 defenseman? Who's got a surplus of those exactly? The answer is almost nobody. And the very few that do have a surplus of top 4 defensemen, like that. In the unlikely event you find one of those, yeah, maybe try to get one. But until then, you gotta figure this out yourself. We know Sandin can play. I want to see if Liljegren can play. There's another guy, Teemu Kevihalmi, who was called up and never ended up playing. These are the guys who the Leafs might have to lean on into the stretch. Luckily, Sandin's impact was felt right away. Before the game, one quick thing that I saw a lot of people talking about. A lot of people were like, where the hell's Martina Ortiz-Luis, the anthem singer? She is actually an extraordinarily big deal, apparently. She's in Calgary, which is ironic because the Flames are in town, shooting a show. Martina, go girl. Just like a couple key Leafs, hopefully she's back in time for the playoffs. Now, Rasmus Sandin, you're up. Last video I said the Leafs need to come away with a win against the Devils, and then I was like, the Leafs barely squeaked by against the Devils last time, and Mackenzie Blackwood is actually pretty good. And then I saw Louis Domingue in net, and I'm like, that's disrespectful. We're getting the backup treatment? And then I saw the Devils had Corey Schneider as their backup, and I'm like, oh no, they're actually in trouble. The first one, though, Domingue had no shot, and that is an overused thing with goalies. He had no shot. Just over 5 minutes into the game, Rasmus Sandin walking the line like a ballet dancer, throws a dart on goal. Tavares banks that puck down and bounces it off the ice, up and over Domingue. You're not getting that. Especially because Domingue couldn't even see what Tavares was doing because he was eclipsed by old 9'4" of Pierre Engvall. Great setup from Sandin, excellent tip from the captain, and the Leafs are up 1-0 early. This is why Sandin could be a ridiculous ridiculous addition to the Leafs blue line when it comes to offense. I've seen a ton of complaints online about Morgan Riley's shot selection, Tyson Barrie's shot selection in particular. Both of those guys can snipe it coming off the rush, but when they're standing at the blue line, they're not as effective. I don't know if it's a Swedish program thing, but Sandin has that dart nice and high. That's something Jeff Merrick's always talking about on ice surfing when it comes to John Klingberg. If you're standing in front of the net, whether you're on Klingberg's team or not, if he has the puck, duck. But it's all about versatility. There's a reason Austin Matthews is on pace for 59 goals. Not only was he a great goal scorer to begin with, but he's been scoring goals in completely different ways this season. Same on D. If you diversify what you do, if you improve what you do, isn't that good? Yeah, it is. Only a few minutes later, Jason Spezza chasing the puck into the corner with Will Butcher, maybe gets away with a little bit of a hold. Puck ends up in front of the net, and with Timashov barreling down, Butcher thwacks the puck out right onto Freddie the Goat Stick. Snipe! Freddie Gauthier with his 6th of the season, doubling his career high that he set last year of 3, and it's 2-0 Leafs less than half a period in. What have I said about Freddie the Goat? I don't love him as a puck handler, but the guy's got a dart. He's not always great at receiving the pass when he's streaking in, but if he's got the puck with control and he's about to shoot, you're in trouble. He's got a good one. It's just a matter of getting into that very specific situation. All he needs is for the other team to hand him the puck. Isn't that simple? Why don't more players do that? This is why you listen to me. Dying seconds of the first period. Leafs all over the Devils in this one, and this is the kind of playmaker Jason Spezza is. He found himself in this situation and was like, I'm gonna make a sick pass. And then he did. Remember I said Rasmus Sandin likes to walk the line? Check out Johnny Cash right here on the second power play unit. Once again, Sandin with that nice high shot into the slot. If this goal was in the playoffs, this poster would be hanging in every Leaf fan's room. Spezza with the no-quit pass, Sandin with the excellent setup again, and Zach Hyman with the legendary tip with just less than 4 seconds to go in the period. Zach Thomas actual Holmstrom, who missed like the first month and still has 12 goals. Listen, I get a lot of stuff wrong. Did I mention that Nick Robertson's a forward? But I remember specifically, at least like a year ago, saying, hey, why not try Zach Hyman out on the power play? The Leafs have changed a few things about their power play, but it's still basically the same setup. You got your guy at either side, you got your guy at the point, you got your guy in the slot, and you got your guy right in front of the net. Tavares is obviously gross in those areas. He's so good, you gotta put him there. William Nylander has had a fantastic season. Andreas Janssen is another guy who I trust in front of the net, but he was injured, and I think that gave Zach Hyman his chance. Think of how exhausting it must be to kill a penalty in the NHL. Now, how exhausting must it be to kill a penalty against Tyson Barrie, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander at the same time? Now, how exhausting must it be if you deal with that whole group for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then after that, if you don't get a line change in, you gotta deal with Zach Hyman. He's gonna make your life miserable, and even if you hit him, he's gonna tip the puck out of mid-air! Hard not to love this guy in the season he's having. 3-0 Leafs. That's as good as a first period as you can hope under the circumstances. Clobbering the Devils for possession, clobbering the Devils in shots on goal. I think it was 16-7, and clobbering them on the scoreboard 3-0. Come on, keep it going. Early in the second period, Leafs with possession on the offensive zone. Oh, the Devils get it back. Oh, Pierre Engvall with the keep. He gets it to John Tavares. Devils closing in on him. Tavares brings his hands nice and close to his body, sets up Pierre Engvall. Engvall, puck behind him, kind of dragging it, shoots. Oh! This is the face you make when your Swedish bro sets you up with the sweet fake shot, and you're like, thanks, Swedish bro, and he's like, LOL, you're from Calgary. William Nylander thwarted on the breakaway in the first period. Not this time. That's his 20th goal of the season. He is going to get 30 in his sleep at this pace, and the Leafs are up 4-0. Disgusting setup from Pierre Engvall. Can you believe this guy didn't make the Leafs out of camp? Fast as heck, long ass neck, 6'90" at over half a point per game despite not getting a sniff on the power play. He kills penalties and doesn't take any penalties himself. In 25 games, he's only taken 3. Excuse me while I turn into Terrell Owens' agent for a second, but I love this man! And I tell you what, he's getting shot with John Tavares, and he's earned it, and if it is a success, the Leafs are really, really formidable up front. We already know about the superstar power, that's obvious, but if Engvall can be a legit top 6 player, which he definitely looks like, that pushes Janssen down to the third line, which opens up all kinds of possibilities. Now, I think a lot of you are like, yeah, you could trade him. How about if you want to trade him, you could do that in the summer, and right now, you keep him as a bomb part of your team. If you had that guy in your third line with Kerfoot and Kapanen, yeah, I think that's okay. Now the game is over. Nope. Blake Coleman gets a slight breakaway, but it's okay. Dmytro Timashov is back there, and oh my god. When I saw that play in real time, I'm like, oh, Freddie, you gotta get a save there. Blake Coleman's no joke, man. Before you even know he gets a shot off, it's in the back of your net. That little lose it, spin and fire, whack it into the Leafs net, that is classic Blake Coleman, and now the Devils are within 3, which is when Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner decide, I must break you. Leafs power play again, about a minute left, which means the top unit is going off for a line change. I'm just kidding, what kind of idiot would make them do that? John Tavares finds a wide open Mitch Marner, who finds a wide open Austin Matthews. Just a simple little subtle thing that he didn't really have in his arsenal last year. It's in the back of their net, and it's 5-1. Tavares, to me, with another example of a secondary assist that looked more important than the primary. Sending it hard from the corner, through feet and everything. All Marner's got to do is pass to Austin Matthews. I think we could do that. I'm kidding. The reason Matthews has space is because the Devils are like, oh my god, it's Marner. Whereas if I had the puck in that position, they'd be like, leave him. Actually, how about I go take it because he can barely pivot. 5-1. Third period, Zach Hyman. Unbelievable hustle because he's Zach Hyman. He sets up Mitch Marner. Guess who he's passing to? Austin! Matthews! I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see Marner set up Matthews for a goal, this is how I celebrate. Yeah! Why did this take so long? Ah! It's a feeling I would describe as hapzasperated. I'll never know why this took so long to try out. It's staggering. Like seriously, think back through the years. They started with Hyman, Matthews, Nylander. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. Let's see if we can, okay. Matthews, Marner, alright. Matt Martin. Okay, well, you know, yeah. I don't want to seem like I'm picking on someone, but I said it on the podcast. It almost seems like every game for the Leafs, at least every game for that line, every shift, is a revenge game. That line is like they all got out of a bad relationship and got haircuts together. Now, this game would be close to perfection if that's where it ends. It did not. Which brings me to this very good question. Okay, so it's the Devils. How worried should we be about the Leafs giving up 4? Score effects or... I mean, it was bad. The Devils should have never come within 2 when they were down 5. But with 8 minutes to go in the game, it's 6-1 Leafs and they're up 30-21 in shots. Freddie has stopped 20 of 21. Minus a ridiculous second effort from Blake Coleman, that is about as perfect an effort as you can get. After the 5-1 goal, I thought, the Leafs totally let their foot off the gas. You can see it in their goal celebration. It just means nothing to them. Okay, thanks. And there's 2 different kinds of score effects to me. The kind where you're like, oh, we're gonna get into a defensive shell that actually puts yourself at more risk of allowing a goal, or when you just stop playing. The Leafs kind of stopped playing. Just a lack of attention to detail, like Tyson Barrie's deep, Nikita Gusev with an amazing zone exit going backwards and then gaining speed going forward. Martin Marinchin's doing his best to cut Gusev off, but all Gusev's got to do is pass it to Coleman, who's beaten Barrie in the foot race, and now he's alone in on Freddie, and it's a really nice backhander. The third goal is the first one where I'm like, Freddie, what the hell are you doing? He's just sort of trickling down like... you know. But even that one, I know it's Blake Coleman and he's super underrated, but Dermott's gotta be harder on him, for crying out loud. Now there's 4 minutes and 24 seconds to go. You're still up 3 goals. That should be fine. But now you put yourself in a position where you're a penalty away from potential disaster, and there's the penalty. Devils with the extra attacker because they pulled the goalie because of the disrespect of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and why wouldn't they? The Leafs have trouble defending these things. Now you're a poor call away from a huge disaster and being down 2, and there it is, a soft call on Martin Marincin, whatever. Soft calls happen, that sucks. 2-man advantage, Subban bomb, and Freddie stops that one. Thank goodness he did. A few seconds later, the first penalty is done. CC is racing to get back into the play, but it's not in time. Subban scores. Subban scores on that first shot. All of a sudden, the Devils get to maintain their power play. It's 6-on-4, down 2, with 2 minutes to go. That is a winnable game. Instead, penalties over, 6-on-5, empty net, Matthews scores! Hey, finally got a hat trick! But it was almost hard to enjoy because of how close the Leafs came to screwing it. By the way, did anyone see the poor kid trying to throw his hat under the netting? Also, it's not a hat, it's a toque. It's different. You don't gotta throw your toque. Leave a comment in the comment box down below. If you're at a game where a hat trick is scored, do you have to throw your toque? I mean, the best answer is probably who cares, they're both $40. But Austin Matthews with his first career hat trick in Scotiabank Arena. By my count, he's gotten 2 before. He scored 1 in Ottawa, obviously in his first game, hit him with the 4, we all know that. And he had 1 against the Montreal Canadiens. I believe all 3 were against Al Montoya. That was in Toronto. Enrico Coliseum. Now, Coca-Cola Coliseum, they changed the name of that building, and he never got one in the Air Canada Centre, but he has one in Scotiabank Arena. Finally. And a stat from ice surfing last night from Statman Stan Narodka. This is the first time the Leafs have had dueling hat tricks in a game since 2006. The Leafs had Matt Sundin score 1, and the Panthers had Joe Nieuwendyk score 1, ironically. I believe that was that ridiculous 6-5 game where Matt Sundin had 6 points. So, Leafs win 7-4. How do we feel about this game? Well, it's all about how you win it, right? The Leafs win 7-4, and some people are feeling shaky about it, and the Penguins win 7-3, and everyone thinks they're gods. There's still some worry with Freddie, right? Like, that should have been a soft target for him. For most of the game, it was. We talk about how he allowed 3 in the third, but man, like, he stopped a breakaway too. Like, this defense was brutal in the third, and they held it together so well for the first 40. For the first 50, really. And maybe this isn't the best comparison after the Islanders murdered the Red Wings last night, but the Islanders will win a game 2-1, 3-2, and we talk about Barry Trotz like he's this brilliant tactician, and he is. But winning a game 7-4 is alright. Win's a win. After losing 3 straight, let's just be happy. Questions. So, Hutch versus Calgary? To be clear, it's to rest Freddie because he has not been himself. You know what? The Leafs have 2 more games before the All-Star break. They have a day off, then they play Calgary at home, then they have another day off, then they play Chicago. Is that one at home as well? Yes, it is. Freddie's going to be playing in the All-Star game. Not that that's the same as a regular workload at all. I don't think you have to play Hutch to give Freddie rest. If anything, he seems out of rhythm and can maybe use a couple games. I will say this, if I were to give Hutch a game, I think I would give him Chicago, because the Leafs fed him to the Wolves against Chicago earlier in the season, and they mounted that almost comeback. With Sheldon Keefe, it seems like everyone's getting their shot at redemption. I would love to see Hutch get his shot at the Blackhawks again. When Subban scores the 4th, what comes into your mind? Fiddle-dee-dee! Does a hat trick count if the 3rd is an empty netter? Yes, it does, Jesse! Ooh, hey Steve, I was wondering if you had any advice for someone looking to get into the sports media industry. Well, first of all, learn how to read, which I don't know how to do. I've been working in news for about a year, but sports, specifically hockey, is my passion. Well, I mean, there's always some reading material you could check out, but if you actually read it, you know that a lot of this was by accident. You know, like a lot of things in life, I don't know if it's overly complicated. Bring passion to what you do, try to think outside of the box, and learn how to do a variety of different things, even things you don't necessarily love doing. But Steve, I'm not good at anything. I have a hard time believing that. One final thing. We all know about the plane that was shot down, and that was a tragedy and, dare I say, an atrocity. And the families of those people that were on board are having to deal with things I can't even fathom. I asked around about a decent charity that we could donate to help these families out, and I'm putting a link down below in the description to help out those families. It says on the website that any donation of $25 or more will receive a tax receipt as well. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends to help people out. And that an empty netter hat trick is still a hat trick!